Welcome back, everyone. Here's a story for you. Back in 2018, Peter Vlaming, a teacher of 7 years in the West Point School District, was fired for refusing to use a student's preferred pronouns. The school board claimed that his refusal to use male pronouns for a female student was transgender discrimination on the basis of gender identity. Since then, Vlaming has sued the school board and will be taking this case up to Virginia's Supreme Court this Friday. That is tomorrow. This kind of case is not the first to make its way to the Virginia Supreme Court. Take the case in Loudoun County, Virginia, last year, for example, where a new implemented policy required teachers to use students' gender-affirming pronouns, and one teacher, Mr. Cross, who wouldn't comply, resulting in his suspension. Cross then sued the district and has been reinstated since. Now, although not all cases are the same, there is hope that because of the ruling in the Loudoun County case, Peter Vlaming's case may receive the same verdict on the grounds of precedent. Here to discuss with me is Peter Vlaming and his attorney, who's with Alliance Defending Freedom, Caleb Dalton. It's great to have you both. Peter, I want to go to you first. This all started in 2018. Here we are in 2022. How has your being fired over this issue impacted your life in the years following?
That's a great question. I was actually in the middle of studying a master's degree in public school administration, so my career path was in public education. I was a tenured teacher. I had continuing contract at my school where I was teaching at the time, doing my master's degree in view of an administrative role, and so all of that was derailed. Well, once I was fired from my school district, I couldn't get a job at other districts because of that. There were positions there that I was definitely qualified for, but that wouldn't move forward because of the fact that I'd been let go. So a future in education in Virginia was effectively derailed.
And now, tomorrow is going to be your case being brought to the Virginia Supreme Court. How does it feel to know that after 4 years of this torment of you being punished for not lying to a student, which is really what this is about, how does it feel to know that you are on the cusp of potentially having justice delivered to you?
Well, I'm very hopeful. My case is one of wanting for tolerance to be a two-way street. The administration of my school essentially wanted me to adopt an ideology that I didn't believe in, and by my speech, wanting to give my endorsement, my personal endorsement by my speech of a belief in who we are as human beings that I don't hold. And it had nothing to do with, the student in question in this case is someone that I got along with very well. And I respect the fact that the student can believe what they want to believe, but just so that the administration would respect the fact that I can believe what I want to believe, and that we can have a truly mutual tolerance without agreeing on that point.
Now, I want to turn to your attorney, Caleb Dalton. Caleb, what is the primary argument being made in this case that the Supreme Court of Virginia is set to hear? Is it strictly a First Amendment rights issue, or is it also could have a religious component to it as well, which is, I don't know Peter's religion, but this is a belief that he holds dearly to, and so he shouldn't be allowed shouldn't be forced to violate it. So is it both? Is it a mix, or what is it?
That's right. So this case is brought under Virginia's Constitution, which protects both the right of everyone to speak freely and also the religious liberty of civil servants not to be fired simply because they won't adhere to an ideology that they disagree with. And then that's exactly what we're asking the court to hold, is that public schools can't fire teachers simply because they won't specifically and personally endorse an ideology that they disagree with. This isn't about curriculum. Peter was a great French teacher, and nobody questions that. What this was about was he couldn't say the words. They said, you have to say he, him, his to refer to a biological female. that's lying, like you mentioned before. And they said, if you can't say those words, you can't work here. That's unconstitutional under Virginia's law, and we're hopeful the court affirms not only Peter's right, but everyone's right in Virginia to speak freely.
Now, Caleb, do you think that the ruling in Loudoun County's case, the event that happened there last year, do you think that precedent will have any positive impact on your case, Vlaming versus the West Point School Board?
So we're hopeful it will. To be clear, in that case, the Supreme Court only addressed the issue of Tanner Cross being suspended for speaking out at the public school board hearing. The court didn't address the issue of being compelled to use pronouns and names that don't align with an individual's biological sex. So this is a little bit of a new issue before the court. There's opportunity for the court to make it absolutely clear that tolerance can be a two-way street, that we can get along and that we can have differing beliefs without firing and ostracizing individuals from society simply because they don't mouth the words that the government says that they have to mouth. That's something, whether or not you agree with Peter's position, I think everyone should agree that the government shouldn't be able to compel you to speak a message, to adhere to a particular ideology. That's not freedom, it's not American, it's certainly not constitutional under Virginia's law.
Well, it's absolutely not, nor should it be. And we've seen regimes across the world how dictating speech and forcing people to use one side's terms. We see how that goes throughout history. Peter, one more question to you before we go. What are you planning to do after this ruling, after the Supreme Court? It's all said and done. Are you planning to, if the verdict goes in your direction, which God hope that it does, what are you planning to do after that?
That's a great question. Given that it's been 4 years since I was almost to the day that I've been in the classroom, my family and I, we had to make some decisions about, what are we going to do? How are we going to move forward? So since then, since that 4 years ago, I have gone into another line of work. But who knows what the future holds? If the doors open again for education, we'll see.
Yeah. Peter and Caleb, it's a pleasure to have you both on the show. Godspeed to you tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock is when the Supreme Court of Virginia will hear your case. So best of luck to you both. Thanks for being here.